Okay, I drove the 88 Chevy the other night, and first of all, the wipers didn't work, so I put some new wipers on it, cleaned the windshield. But the biggest thing, it started missing real bad before I got back, and I got a check engine light. And I've got one of these little keys. This is just a little, it's a jumper that goes into your, this is your, what am I trying to say? This has the onboard diagnostics version 1. So all you have to do is jump it out, then you count the flashes on the check engine light. Let me get this set up here and we'll look at it. Here's a little jumper. I guess you put it in the top two, A and B, before you turn the key on. And that jumps that out, and then when you turn the key on, you just count the flashes. Just watch your check engine light. The long flashes are 10s and 20s, and the short flashes are 1s and 2s. So the first flash you'll get is a long and 2 shorts. That'll be 10, 11, 12. 10, 11, 12. That tells you that's a system check. Now to go into the codes. 10, 20, 30, 40. 1, 2, 42. 10, 20, 30, 40. 1, 2. It'll flash 3 times each code. 10, 20, 30, 40. 1, 2. And then a long flash, 2 shorts. So that's 10, 11, 12. When it shows you 12 again, it shows you that it's run through all the codes. So the only actual code we need to worry about is code 42 on this onboard diagnostics OBD1. This is a 1988 Chevy pickup truck. So it keeps replaying 42 and 12. So let's see if we can take a look and figure out what 42 is. And that code 42 tells us that the electronic spark advance is disconnected. Now this thing does not have a vacuum advance on it. This particular model has electronic. If you can see right back there, let me get where we can point here. Right here. There's a little disconnector, a little connector, and it's got a brown wire on it. It's underneath this firewall cover. And that little brown wire that you disconnect has that connector on it. You disconnect that to set your timing. Now we can check this, but I've had a feeling the other day this truck wouldn't start. I cranked it and couldn't get nothing. I fiddled around with the wiring on the distributor, and it finally started. So I've thought for a while that we've had a bad distributor. This is one of them, we had a MSD distributor in this truck. My son's went bad, and we took it out and put it in my son's truck. So I've just got a cheap Chinese distributor in there right now. And these, even the good ones, have a tendency to fail because these things draw moisture from sitting. If they sit around all the time, they just get, humidity in them and they fail. And the pickups in this thing are probably bad at run. You can't get it to idle hardly. I've rebuilt the fuel injection on it, and all my pressures and stuff are good on my fuel injection. It said it needed an O2 sensor. I replaced the O2 sensor. That's fine. And I'm suspecting, especially now that it's saying we're not getting a electronic spark advance control signal, that it's probably something, either a corroded connector or something inside of that distributor's went bad. I've got a new distributor inside. I've actually got a couple, but I don't want to replace them right now because I'm not planning on driving this truck much. I plan on tearing this motor down. One way we can check and see if it is working, we can disconnect that and we can take a timing light. And with it disconnected, the timing should read, there's a timing mark down there, it should read 0. See it way down in there in the bottom where that pipe is sticking up, that little thing on the harmonic balancer. It should read 0 with it disconnected if the timing is right. But when you plug it back up, it should go to like 30 degrees. Or at least it should move around a little bit and tell you that it's trying to control the timing. So if it don't move, it stays on 0 after you connect it back we've either got a bad corroded connection or we've got a bad distributor, which most likely the distributor is bad, because these cheap Chinesium ones, they don't last just a few months, then you got to put another one in it. So we'll take a look at that. Before I disconnect that, I want to go ahead and start it up with a timing light on it. I got my pickup wire from the timing light running to the number 1 plug, and then I got the other end of the timing light connected to the battery. So let's start this thing up and see if it's advancing on its own. Control the timing, but it's not holding. I got the timing light set at 30 degrees, so that means that the mark should be on 0. Disconnected now. You can already tell that it's staying on 0 with it disconnected. Maybe a little bit off of 0. Hard to see that. If it's staying a little bit off of 0, I'll have to gun 0 out. But when you plug it back up, it does not go to 30 like it's supposed to. It would be awesome if it would hold and maintain the timing. It just won't do it. And we know we've got the connections working good, because you can unplug it and it kind of hovers around 0, but when you plug it back up, it goes wild. So I think there's a problem with the distributor, no question about it. So I guess I'll just tear this thing down. I'm not gonna be able to drive it, but we tried. I had to turn the gun all the way up to 45 degrees just to get it to show up on 0. So it's bouncing anywhere from 30 to 45 degrees. It's just bouncing all over the place. So looks like we need a distributor. Now, I did mention that the distributor was probably the cause of my code 42. Now, code 42 has nothing to do with the distributor, really. It's more of the electronic spark control signal that goes back to the main computer. And it could be a broken wire, a faulty ground, or something like that. Now, this thing quit the other day while it was running, and it wouldn't start back. I ended up disconnecting the coil packs and the coil, all the wiring on the coil, and reconnecting everything. I kept retesting, I couldn't get any spark. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, it just started sparking again and started running. But it had this mess before it quit, and it's still got this mess. So one of the problems I know that I've got is I've got oil on this number 1 plug, and this number 1 plug fouls constantly, and especially when you don't run it a lot and keep it burned out. But it's got bad valve seals. That's one of the reasons I'm tearing this engine down. This old truck is going to come apart but I've got to get the disco nova out first. I don't like much on this. I'm still about where I was. Still got to get the exhaust pipe back on it, and I've got to get a broken bolt out so I can put the other fender on the other side. Once I get the fender on, I can put the battery and stuff in and start this thing up. But I've got a bolt down here on this side that has to come out. It's down under here. It's what holds the fender on. It's right there. I don't know if you can see my finger, but there's a broken bolt. And that goes up into the car. I'm afraid to put too much heat on it with a welder, but I'm going to try. That'll be our next project on our next video. But we're not going to go any further on the Chevrolet because I'm just assuming that it's a bad distributor. I don't know that for a fact, but the last 2 times that this exact thing's happened on that truck and Matt's truck, it was a distributor both times. And that could be a bad ground that's causing distributors to go bad. Who knows? But when I have the top of the motor off and maybe the whole motor out, I'll go over the grounds and clean them. GM, if anybody's ever dealt with GM wiring harnesses, most of the time, all the phantom codes and the bad issues that you have with General Motors wiring harnesses is always, comes back to the bad ground. So that's what I've got for today, and we'll go back to work on this car shortly. I just wanted to see what that code was on the blue truck and see what we could do with it. Thanks for watching, guys. I do appreciate it. Stay clean, everybody.